Hi, this is Kevin Douglas. I'm testing a deck today. We've got Gerbil Dudes, blue, black, red. So this is a Storm deck, but instead of being built around paradoxical outcome like a lot of the Storm decks seem to be these days, it actually runs a Fastbond and uses Gush to continuously draw through the deck and eventually play a Tendrils of Agony. So we have a Cabal Therapy and a Gitaxian Probe. That's a really good start. Ancestral Recall, a land, Yawgmoth's Will. I think we can keep this. So I haven't played this deck except for a couple solitaire games in the practice room, but I think I get the general idea. So Oath seems pretty bad with Forbidden Orchard out. Not so bad though, because we're going to be able to sack that Spirit to Cabal Therapy. But if we're not able to storm off pretty quickly, then they'll just keep on making tokens, and we'll eventually probably lose to like a Grizzlebrand. So we'll go ahead and fetch for Underground Sea and see what we're working with. Alright, so the only thing we're going to be able to grab with that Cabal Therapy is a Mental Misstep. But it's potentially good for us because they don't really have any action. So we've got 2 Mox. If we could find a Fastbond. So I think I'm going to spend a turn Cabal Therapying just to get rid of this Spirit. Although they're going to be able to give us a Spirit at upkeep when the Oath of Druids triggers. So we might only get next turn. They do have the Mental Misstep, so we can't really cast our Ancestral Recall into it, so I think we still have to Cabal Therapy. So as I mentioned, they're going to be able to give us another token at upkeep before the Oath of Druids checks. So I'm going to go ahead and just save the Spirit and just leave that Cabal in for Delve fodder. Oh man, that's pretty bad. So that is going to be a good game. Not much we can do about that. So we're going to bring in Nature's Claim. We could bring in Ravenous Trap just to try to hit the Dragon's Breath. I think that's kind of narrow though. We could Murderous Cut. See if we can fill up our graveyard and get rid of a Grizzlebrand. So like I said, I'm not very familiar with this deck. Not totally sure what the best thing to bring in is. Hopefully they didn't see enough to really know that we're on this Fastbond Storm plan. So I think we'll just bring in those 2 Nature's Claims and get rid of a Dak Faden. You know, actually, I might just get rid of the Young Pyromancers, go all in on the Fastbond combo. Bring back in the Dak Faden. And I think I'll bring in a Ravenous Trap just on the off chance that, well, and maybe a Flusterstorm. They do run Force of Will. So I just asked him if he was playing Joe Fiorini's list. With that Dragon's Breath, we saw that on stream, on Rich Shea's stream the other night, and Joe's been kind of tweeting and writing about it for a couple weeks now. So again, we have a Cabal Therapy and Gataxian Probe. That's a good first step. We're going to see a draw. Other than that, the hand is pretty light on action. That Time Walk will draw us a card, and the Gataxian Probe will draw us a card, but if we don't get some card draw going, then we're not really set up to win here. But I think just based off of the Cabal Therapy and Gataxian Probe, that's a really strong start. So we're going to go ahead and keep. I'm going to apologize for the slow play to my opponent. So we'll go ahead and fetch for an Underground Sea, Gataxian Probe, and probably try to get that Ancestral Recall. So we could Time Walk here. We'll try that. I'm going to go ahead and copy this list. So discard Recall, and we're going to go ahead and Time Walk. See if we can't find a Gush. So there's a Tendrils, but we're kind of off to a bad start. We do have that misstep, and maybe I should have lined up that misstep with the Ancestral Recall. Maybe I should have taken that Gush instead. We do have Flusterstorm now, so that's kind of fortunate. Yeah, I think I made a mistake there. If they do try to Gush, though, we can Flusterstorm. I think I'm okay with them Time Walking here. I'd rather hit them on the Gush and set them back on land for a little bit, just to kind of slow the deck down, and just try to get my draw engine going. So I'm trying to think if I can use this Brainstorm in any way to try to start going off this turn. If I found a Gush, I think I'm okay to wait on it till next turn. Or I should say at the opponent's end step. So the opponent's going to try to Gush. I'm going to Brainstorm. And just try to build up the storm count for this Flusterstorm, in case I have to use it on this Gush. So we have a Regrowth, a Yawgmoth's Will. I like Yawgmoth's Will. We're going to go ahead and put Tendrils back. And a Cabal Therapy. And then we're going to try to Fluster Storm this Gush. So the Storm count, they'll actually be able to pay for that Gush. So let's see, that'll be 3. They've got 2, 3. That'll put them off of Oath. So if they want the Gush to resolve, they'd have to draw some fast mana. I think I'll Fluster Storm. So see if they want to pay for it. They do. So they didn't fetch for green, which tells me they probably have green in hand. Well, actually, I might have seen a green source gushed. So I'm going to go ahead and Yawgmoth's Will here. I'm going to get to Brainstorm, Taxium Probe. Well, so I'll be left with 1 mana, 2 mana if I play a Polluted Delta, like a Time Walk. I think I just go for some land here. I could keep this land for that Brainstorm if I decide to Yawgmoth's Will. I think I'll do. I want to see if he got an Oath in his hand. So they're drawing a card. That just, it seems like, unless they're digging for interaction, so maybe they were. It just gives me a better chance of, I probably should have paid for that. That play does make my Fastbond worse if I'm able to find it. So we're going to Oath of Druids here. So we got a Treasure Cruise, a Force Will, Show and Tell, Swan Song, Forbidden Orchard. So none of those cards win the game on their own, but they are pretty good. So he doesn't have Oath, but he's going to be able to Treasure Cruise. So if we can get this Yawgmoth's Will landed, we might be able to double Cabal Therapy, although they're going to Swan Song, and they do have the Force of Will. So they're going to have to discard a couple cards. And unfortunately, this Yawgmoth was probably not going to resolve with that Swan Song and Force of Will. So here's the Tendrils. So let's see. We know they've got Force of Will, Show and Tell, and Swan Song in hand. If I try to run out this Yawgmoth's Will right now, we'll get 2 blue cards out. And if I wait any amount of time, then they're probably just going to have Swan Song mana up. So I think I'd rather them lose 2 cards, even though it probably means we're not going to get the Yawgmoth's Will. So they got rid of a Mental Misstep. That means they still have the Show and Tell in the Swan Song. So here's a tropical island. Let's see if they found Oath. Doesn't look like it. So I'm going to go ahead and crack this Pluto Delta. Find another Underground Sea. So there's a Force of Will. We've got the mana to hardcast it right now. And now we have the card to not hardcast it. So they're going to gush there. I think I'm just going to pay for Force of Will here. So if they would have just returned 2 lands to play, then they would have had mana up for Swan Song. So there's Jace. Let's see if he might start Fate Sealing me. Nope. So Dak Faden's not amazing, but it's better than not playing anything. So I'm going to draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards. Going to get Abrupt Decayed. So I think I'm going to get rid of this Mental Misstep. I have to keep the Tendrils of Agony. So we're going to get rid of Misstep, and I think we kind of have to just get rid of a... Well... I'm actually more inclined to get rid of Force of Will. Depending on what they left in... Well, let's see. They're pretty close to casting Grizzlebrand. So Chain of Vapor is actually looking a little bit worse right now. So I'm going to keep the Force of Will and just hope I get to untap. So Jace is doing a little bit better digging through his deck than my deck did. So I don't think you'd run out the Orchard if you didn't have the Oath, just to play around Wasteland. So there it is. So Gush would have been pretty good here, I think. And we're going to have to loot pretty hard. Hopefully find one. And even then, if we are able to find Gush, they're just going to be able to Swan Song it. So things aren't looking good. So unfortunately, I wish we had another card because I can't really get rid of this Tendrils of Agony because I sided out all the other win conditions. And our one Yawgmoth's Will's in the graveyard. So I think I discard the Gush and the Force of Will. Try to Ancestral Recall. But it's going to get countered. So I'm surprised they didn't give us a token there. So you can just see how much more he's moved through his deck than I have. 28 cards left in the library compared to my 36. So, didn't use Forbidden Orchard. And honestly, there's not going to be much I'm going to be able to show and tell. So here comes that Swan Song probably, or another Mental Misstep. Or a Flusterstorm. So can't pay for any of these except for one. So there's a Grizzlebrand plus Dragon's Breath. So we're not dead yet, but we're going to be. I'd basically have to draw, I'd have to hope that they don't draw into anything that can counter us. And then I'm going to have to draw into a Gush and a Fastbond. So I think I'm going to have to at least draw a Gush somehow. Gush into Fastbond. And then hope that the other card off Gush is something that lets me start comboing off. So we're going to choose no, because we don't have any creatures in the deck. And we don't want all our cards in the graveyard. So Black Lotus isn't great. So there's a Gush. There's step one. So tap for green, tap for blue, Gush, and we'll see a Swan Song here. Unless I missed them discarding that Swan Song sometime earlier, but no, it looks like I still have it. So they're gonna force a will. Storm count of 2. This is 3. So it's kind of funny. If we had another spell to cast, we might be able to get him with the tendrils. But we do. Cabal Therapy. We're going to sack the Spirit. Name Force of Will. Take a screenshot. Okay. And then tendrils. So that was pretty cool. So they're going to draw 7 cards. Alright, so go to game 3. So I'm kind of chatting with my opponent. I just kind of mentioned that it's a Fastbond Tendril Storm deck. It's kind of a nice guy, just chatting it up, and this is a casual game, so them knowing I'm running Fastbond is, obviously information I don't have to share, but it's kind of nice to. The vintage community is actually really nice. There's a Facebook group. The people who play online it's kind of a smaller group, so just trying to build that sense of community. Try to keep a little bit more casual. Like if you're playing at your local game shop. I don't know that I need to make any changes. Yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and keep. We're going to have to mulligan this. We only have 1 source of mana, 3 Force of Will, and we have to pitch them to each other. So this looks pretty good. We're going to be able to get a Fast Bond into Gush with Force of Will backup. See if I can mulligan into something that can keep our combo going, because the way this is set up, I'm going to be able to... So we're going to put that on top. And we might just try to be a little bit patient. I say if that was an Oath, don't know if I want to waste that force on it. So double Preordain. This Preordain, they are scrying top and draw. So top, draw. So we got Yawgmoth's Will. I think we're going to fetch for Tropical Island, play Fastbond. Hope we don't have to Force a Will. We'll yield to those triggers. So we'll Preordain. So there's Nature's Claim. Let's see, I think I'm going to top, draw into that Nature's Claim with like a Taxian Probe. And then maybe wait a turn and possibly start comboing off next turn. Although I don't have to... I don't have to draw into the Nature's Claim this turn. And I might as well try to build up my Storm count if there's a possibility that I could go off next turn. And I might want this Force of Will. So is this Force of Will going to get any better than this Time Walk? I think I like forcing here. They're only in 3 cards. So I could hold on to the Nature's Claim for an Oath. I could try to hit their Mox. I think I want to see at least one more draw. It's a little bit risky going for this Gush right now. And this way, this leaves me mana to maybe Nature's Claim an Oath if they found one. So a little bit of a bummer there. It'll be hard to storm off without the Fastbond in play. And we sided out of our Pyromancer plan. So, you know, maybe it's just a bad plan to remove all those Pyromancers. I kind of did it on the thought that we're playing a Oath deck. And so I kind of just wanted to make them find the Forbidden Orchards. I could Gush here and try to find a Chain of Vapor. I think I'll try that. And if I can find a Chain of Vapor, which I did not, but I would probably try to Chain of Vapor that. Unless I miss, unless I'm not thinking of Chain of Vapor correctly, and if it's only something your opponent controls. So we could go Cabal Therapy here. And so what do we name? I think I like naming Force of Will. We have an answer for an Oath. Although an Oath is pretty good. I think I want to get that Yawgmoth's Will through though. So their hand's not shaping up to be very good either. And I'm going to start playing a little bit faster here because I am down to just a couple minutes on the clock. So we're 2 turns away from that Yawgmoth's Will. They've got Grizzlebrand and Mana Crypt. They're going to hold on to their lands to try to get up to Library of Alexandria mana. So we're running out the Tropical Island. So if we go for Yawgmoth's Will, we're not going to have that much mana to cast some of these spells and get our storm count up. So, and honestly, without that Fastbond, I just don't know that we're going to be able to win anyway. I think I basically have to just try to get a bunch of land. Hope to kind of just delay them long enough to build up enough land that I can land this Yawgmoth's Will. Play a bunch of cheap spells, and then just try to tendrils for like storm count of 8. So unfortunately, now they have the library online. They're going to be drawing quite a few more cards than us. And I think that this waiting game is just, it's just not going to benefit us. So there's that Chain of Vapor. So I just have 6. I'm going to hold my finger on F3 in case there's something I want to respond to. They're going to time walk though. I think I'm going to try to gush at the end of this turn just to build cards in my hand. So there's Oath of Druids. We're going to try to Nature's Claim. So there's a Mox Emerald. Man, unfortunately, with that Nature's Claim, it just makes our storm count that much higher. That helps a little bit. I think we'll go ahead and look for a Tropical Island, Nature's Claim. So there's a minimum step. We're going to go ahead and gush here. And go ahead and regrowth the land. I suppose I could have Cabal Therapied, but I think I'm going to save this for a turn. If I ever get to the point where I can start comboing off, that would be a good spell to play first. So I think I probably should have left in at least one Young Pyromancer. I think going all in on the Fastbond and then running it out was probably a bad idea. I think I got a little bit greedy in the beginning, thinking a turn 1 Fastbond might lead to like a turn 2 Storm. But in retrospect, I probably should have held on to it and been a little bit more patient, and then only run it out when I needed to. I don't know that I would have thought to Cabal Therapy and name Abrupt Decay. So I might still have lost the Fastbond to an Abrupt Decay and not been able to combo off anyway. But at least that would have set me up better to win. So there's a show and tell. Let's see. So I'll just put a tropical island in play. I don't need to Chain to Vapor this turn. So we'll go no. Well, we do have a Yawgmoth's Will. What could I do with all the cards in my graveyard? I have 1, 2, 3, 4 mana. I would get a 5th land in play. I'd be able to cast the Fastbond. I think we're going to try this. So there's our whole graveyard. I can't... man, but I can't draw anything. That was a big mistake. I should have run out the Yawgmoth's Will and tried to get Fastbond. Yeah, and I wasn't actually going to get a draw anyway. Well, that's actually a huge bummer because I would have been able to... Oh man, so I would have been able to go Cabal Therapy, at least see if it was safe, maybe nab Force of Will, and if they didn't have any other counters, I would have been able to play a Flooded Strand, find another black mana, cast Yawgmoth's Will leaving green up, and then play Fastbond from my graveyard, and start comboing off with, I think that there were 2 Gushes in my graveyard by that point. So I think I lost this one, but I might have had the tools to win. So kind of a cool deck though. Hope you enjoyed the match. You can kind of see how the deck kind of approaches Storm from a different angle than what we see with like the Dark Petition Storm and the Paradoxical Outcome Storm. So feel free to check out the deck on MTG Goldfish, or you can actually see it on the right hand side of your screen there. So thanks for watching.